Hello, everyone, and welcome to Quiz and Hers, the podcast where we test each other's knowledge and the strength of our relationship. My name is Hallie, and I am here with my fiance, Justin.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. So, for anyone who's new to the podcast, the way this works is that each week one of us will be asking questions and the other person will be answering them. There will be 6 questions in the categories of times and places, sounds and screens, arts and literature, sports and games, science, and everything else, which is everything else. And all of the 6 questions are connected together by a common theme.
Yes.
And Justin does not know what the theme is yet.
No.
So today I'll be asking the questions. Justin will be answering them.
Yep.
Can't remember if I said that.
No, I don't think you did.
Okay.
And you're up 13-12 at the moment.
You just said it was 13-11.
13-11, sorry.
What is it, man?
It's
You're the scorekeeper.
13-11.
Okay.
All right.
So I have some leeway.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So today's theme I call, it's very silly.
Okay.
Which witch is which?
Oh, no.
The theme is sandwiches.
What?
The theme of the game is sandwiches.
Okay.
What?
Nothing.
Why you like, oh no?
I had no idea where that was going.
Where
where
did you think it?
Is it going to be witches? Is it going to be grammar? Is it going to be, and I did not think, is it going to be sandwiches? So
It
okay.
is sandwiches.
We should say, I don't think we've said this on air, that we have gotten into a bit of an informal competition for who can come up with the lamest game with the best name. So you are currently the 2-time champion of that because you had Nerds of a Feather Flock Together, which was about birds, which is a great title for a very lame theme. And then you did
I Want to Rock.
I Want to Rock a couple weeks ago, which was about rocks.
What's wrong with this?
Nothing.
You don't think this is lame enough?
It's very lame.
It's super lame.
Okay.
If you could think of a better name for that,
No, it's
let
good.
me know. Okay.
It's good. All right.
All right, thanks. I'm glad you like it.
All right. Let's see. Bring it.
All right. Question 1. Times and places. As you probably know, it is believed that the sandwich was invented by the 4th Earl of Sandwich in 1762. The 11 Earls of Sandwich between 1660 and 1943 had what surname, which is also well known from a Shakespeare tragedy?
Interesting. I don't know this, actually, but I can think of some Shakespearean surnames, so...
Sometimes I feel like Justin looks at my face to see if I'll give him some sort of cue as to whether he's on the right track, so I'm going to cover my face.
Alright, whatever, they can't see.
Because he goes through this whole process of thinking out loud, and I feel like part of the reason is so that you can try to, get me to smirk at something.
No, I just like to talk through things. It's much more interesting radio than me just sitting there going,
I do that.
Alright,
Don't I do that?
Yeah, you do.
Sorry.
Alright, so, surnames of Shakespearean tragedies. There's Montague and Capulet, obviously, from Romeo and Juliet. Lear, Macbeth. Let's see. Yeah, for some reason the first thing that jumped out to me was Montague. So, I'm gonna say that.
It is Montague.
Yes! I don't know how I knew that.
You didn't. You're just lucky.
That was my initial thought, but I didn't know.
Damn. Okay, I didn't think you were going to get that.
Whew, alright.
Alright, so the Earl of Sandwich title, which was created in 1660, is associated with Sandwich in the county of Kent in southeast England. So, Sandwich is a place. The title was created for a naval commander named Admiral Sir Edward Montagu. Oh, also of note, it can be spelled with an E at the end or without an E, but I mostly saw it without the E, so Montague ending in U.
Okay. In Shakespeare, I think it's spelled with the E.
I think so.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, Sir Edward Montagu was made Baron Montagu of St. Neots of the county of Huntingdon, and also, is it pronounced Viscount?
Viscount.
Viscount?
Yeah. Viscount
Hutchingbrook. Anyway, this seems like a good time for a little aside about all of these titles.
Yes, I can never remember the ranking of them. I've tried so many times.
I've never even tried. I knew nothing about this.
Duke is the highest, right?
I'm getting
That's
there.
the only one I can remember.
Yes, it is.
All
Okay.
right.
So the legal system that comprises these titles is known as the Peerage of England. The ranks of the Peerage of England from highest to lowest are Duke, Marquess, is that how you say it?
Marquess, I think.
Marquess, sure. I don't like how that sounds as much.
I think that's how you say it.
All right, fine. Marquess, Earl, Viscount, and Baron.
Okay.
For females, they are Duchess, Marchioness, I think.
I'm not sure.
Marchioness, Countess, Viscountess, and Baroness. Originally, some peerages were inherited through females, but eventually were only descended in the male line. There are also baronets, which are lower than these rankings, but are not actually considered nobility.
Right, okay.
In England, there are 11 dukedoms, 1 marquessate, about 30 earldoms, 3 viscounties, I wrote, and 50-something baronies.
Okay.
So, before the passage of the House of Lords Act in 1999, all peers in England could sit in the House of Lords. But then the act,
right,
kind of said they couldn't anymore.
Right.
Women peers were only allowed to sit in the House of Lords starting in 1963.
Of course.
Yeah. And
so when you say that there are like those numbers of them, like there were 12 dukedoms, for example, right? So that means there's 12 like hereditary duke duchess titles?
Yeah, like the Duke of, I don't know, something.
Right, okay. But it doesn't mean that, like, it's not tied to land anymore, though, right? Like, it's not a geographic.
Not as far.
It doesn't mean anything geographic.
Not as far
anymore,
as I
right?
know.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, their names all come from a place, like Sandwich.
Right.
A place.
But they're not actually, like, tied to the land meaningfully.
I don't think so.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Not positive, but I don't think so.
Okay.
So the title of Earl comes from the Scandinavian word Jarl, which means chieftain who could rule a territory in the king's stead.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the only one I really went into. So anyway, back to the Earls of Sandwich. The fourth Earl of Sandwich, who was John Montagu, was born in 1718. His father was Edward Montagu, who was Viscount Hutchingbrook, but was not the third Earl of Sandwich. That was John's grandfather, also named Edward. It's confusing.
Yeah.
Edward Jr., I guess, if you want to say. John's father died when John was just 4 years old, so then John became the heir of the Earl of Sandwich. That's why it skipped a generation.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So John Montagu went to Eton and then to Trinity College in Cambridge. He sat in the House of Lords and was a follower of the Duke of Bedford, who was a powerful politician at the time. He then became a colonel in the British Army as part of the response to the Jacobite Rising. Throwback to my last episode.
Yep.
He was also a prominent statesman and served as Secretary of State for the Northern Department and First Lord of the Admiralty. He also sponsored the voyages of Captain James Cook, who named the Sandwich Islands in the Northern Pacific in his honor.
That might be why I knew the name. I feel like I was reading about Captain Cook a while back.
Oh, maybe.
And saw that. That might be why
My
I got
luck.
it. Yeah, I think that must have been where I heard it.
Oh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was not reading about him. I was not reading about him for the purposes of this podcast, by the way. I was just bored. But yeah.
You just like to read Wikipedia for fun.
I mean,
we do not have that in common.
I did it before we started this podcast, so yeah.
I know you did. I did not. I did not know about the Sandwich Islands.
Yeah.
But now I do.
Yeah.
I feel like if you didn't know this story, you would probably just think it's a place where people really like sandwiches.
I don't think that anyone would think that, actually.
But I really didn't know that the sandwich came from, like, a place in an earldom.
Yeah.
Anyway, although the sandwich is named after John Montagu, the circumstances are still up for debate. A book called Tour to London by Pierre-Jean Grosley started the myth that the Earl created the sandwich at the gambling table.
Yeah, I've heard this story.
Yeah. So this original sandwich consisted of a piece of salt beef between 2 slices of toast. However, this was not actually the first time someone thought to put meat between bread. Montagu likely saw other forms of sandwiches on pita bread when he traveled to the Eastern Mediterranean. But this is what originated the term sandwich for it.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep. That's it.
Okay. That was fun.
Yeah. So it wasn't actually the first time.
Right. Yeah.
It was a real sandwich, but.
Right. Yeah, I knew a little bit of that from that show Time Squad that I watched when I was a kid, which was...
Really?
There was an episode with the Earl of Sandwich, yeah.
I want to see that.
I don't remember the conceit of it. It's nowhere. I cannot find it.
It must be somewhere.
It's not.
On the dark web.
What?
Just kidding.
Okay. It's not on any, like, streaming service as far as I can tell, which is a shame because it was very funny.
Probably on some illegal thing.
Yeah, well.
We don't do that.
Of course not.
Okay. Question 2.
Okay.
Arts and literature. What comic character created by Chick Young and who first appeared in 1933 was famous for making tall, multi-layered sandwiches topped with an olive on a toothpick?
Huh. I've seen this.
Yeah, you
but
have. You can picture it, I'm sure.
But I don't think I know it. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna get to this. I don't know.
Ready?
I can't even. I have no idea.
Should I tell you?
Yeah.
It's Dagwood.
Dagwood. Okay.
Do you know what it's from?
Blondie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Dagwood is a main character in the comic strip Blondie, which was created in 1930 by Chick Young and distributed by King Features Syndicate, owned by Hearst Communications.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to Blondie, Young's earlier creations included, quote, pretty girl creations, Beautiful Bab, and Dumb Dora. No joke, her name was Dumb Dora.
This guy sounds pretty sexist.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was the 1930s. You can just say we've come a long way since Dumb Dora.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yikes.
Yeah, horrible. Anyway, Blondie was based on the adventures of Blondie Boopadoop, a fun flapper girl. Her last name was Boopadoop.
What a terrible time to be alive.
I know. This is funny. The name Boopadoop came from a scat lyric in the song I Wanna Be Loved by You by Helen Kane in 1928. What? Like, imagine you're just like a comic writer listening to a song, you're like, Boopadoop. That seems like my character's last name.
Perfectly embodies what I'm going for.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
Like, it's like Betty Boop.
Yeah, that's what I figured it was a Betty Boop ripoff. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. This must be first.
I don't know.
I have no idea. Anyway, probably should have checked that out. I don't know. Anyway, Dagwood Bumstead was heir to the Bumstead locomotive fortune, but was disowned when he married Blondie in 1933. It was because she was not of a high enough class for his family.
Right, she was not of noble birth.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
The locomotive noble line.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
She wasn't rich, is what you're saying.
Yeah, she wasn't rich, so they disowned him.
Okay.
And then they became a middle-class suburban family. After they got married, Blondie became a, quote, sensible housewife, and Dagwood became the clown of the comic.
Mm-hmm.
They had 2 kids. Their first child, Alexander, was originally named Baby Dumpling.
What?
Like when they had the baby, he called him Baby Dumpling.
Like that was a nickname for the character?
No, like that was the baby's name until I guess he realized, like, he wanted to age the kid up. Right. And he was like, we can't just call his kid Baby Dumpling. I guess. God. So he changed the name to Alexander. The younger sister was named Cookie in a national contest among readers. That was the name that won.
What is with all the food?
I don't know. But that wasn't actually him. That was the readers.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they also have a dog named Daisy.
Okay.
That's not a food.
No, it's not.
It's a brand
Yeah,
of sour
true.
cream.
That's true.
Anyway, like I said in the question, Dagwood liked to create very tall sandwiches. Dagwood sandwich is now in Webster's New World Dictionary, and Dagwood is sometimes substituted for the word sandwich.
Really?
Like, yeah, people just call it a Dagwood. I don't know where.
Yeah, I've never heard that.
Yeah, clearly not on the East Coast. Yeah. I don't know where.
Interesting.
But in 2006, a Blondie-themed restaurant chain called Dagwood Sandwich Shops was founded with locations in Kentucky, Indiana, Georgia, and Missouri.
That's fun.
Yeah. Their Dagwood is a 1.5-pound sandwich consisting of 3 slices of deli bread with Genoa salami, ham, pepperoni, turkey, cheddar, provolone, lettuce, tomato, roasted red peppers, banana peppers, red onion, mustard, and low-calorie mayo. Not sure why the mayo needs to be low-calorie, but it's low-calorie if you're wondering.
That's like throwing water on the building after it's already burnt down.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So anyway, back to the comic. Young drew Blondie until his death in 1973 when creative control passed to his son, Dean Young, who still writes the comic strip today.
Yeah.
At this point, when after Chick Young died, the strip began to focus more on Dagwood rather than on Blondie. even though it's still called Blondie.
Because he's like a funnier character.
Yeah.
Like he's more of the
Yeah, like
fool,
she
the
was
clown
fun
kind of
and
character.
funny, and then like after they got married, they flipped it around.
I see.
Yeah.
Noticing a lot of continuity errors in this comic.
Yeah. I don't know. No one seems to care.
Yeah.
Anyway, Blondie appears in more than 2,000 newspapers in 47 countries and is translated into 35 languages.
Wow.
Since 2006, it has become available by email through King Features' daily ink service. That's interesting.
I don't think I've ever read this comic.
I don't think I ever have either.
Huh. Okay.
I've only really read Peanuts, and I like Hagar the Horrible.
I like Hagar a lot.
And I still never read Calvin and Hobbes, but I need to.
Calvin and Hobbes is great. Yeah, I grew up reading the comics in the newspaper because I'm old enough to remember when physical newspapers still existed.
I am too. Not that much younger than you.
But yeah, I grew up reading like Hagar the Horrible and Beetle Bailey and Calvin and Hobbes and Garfield.
Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah. In 1938, Columbia Pictures produced 28 low-budget Blondie films starring Penny Singleton as Blondie and Arthur Lake as Dagwood.
What year?
1938.
Wow.
So it was like at the height of popularity.
Yeah. Cool.
But 28, that's a lot.
Yeah.
There were also TV shows based on Blondie in 1957 and then again in 1968, each only lasting one season. And lastly, there was an animated TV special created in 1987 by Marvel Productions.
Huh. Interesting.
And that was basically the last Blondie thing.
I'm sure there will be a live-action reboot on the CW soon or something.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Well, they have that ridiculous-looking Riverdale show.
People love Riverdale.
I know they do. I have not seen it.
Don't hate on Riverdale. I
haven't seen it.
Me neither.
To me, it seems like a very odd concept to do like a
but
Beverly Hills 90210 meets Archie. But
I don't actually really know anything about Archie, but I've heard Riverdale is good.
I've heard it's good too, yeah.
It's probably very loosely based. Like, probably the names are the same, but that's it. Probably.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
That's my guess.
Well, I'm sure we'll be getting a Blondie reboot soon.
Oh, yeah.
It surprised me. Everything's coming back.
Yeah, true. Okay. Ready for question 3?
Yep.
Sports and games.
Okay.
What is the 3-word name for the organization that oversees all professional eating contests in the world, including the World Championship Canteen Sandwich Eating Contest and the Nathan's Famous Hot Dog Eating Contest?
Wow. I don't know. That's a really good question.
Before we started, you did say you hoped this game was a little harder.
Yeah, okay. Boys. Okay, so it's the governing body of competitive eating, basically? Holy crap.
I didn't know anything about this.
3 words, you said. I don't know. I want it to be like the Grand Prix of food or something, but I'm sure that's not what it is. I would love that, though. International Eating Federation.
Oh, close, but no.
Damn!
It's Major League Eating.
Oh, I've heard... Yeah, okay, I have heard that.
So it's like there's 2 parts of this. There's Major League Eating, and then there's the International Federation of Competitive Eating.
Okay. Which
you were sort of on the right track for.
Yeah.
So I was reading on Wikipedia, and I was reading on their website. Their website says IFOSCE, which is International Federation of Competitive Eating.
Yeah.
Is the governing body of Major League Eating.
I see.
Wikipedia says that Major League Eating is what came of IFOC, so I'm very confused.
What do you mean what it came of?
Like, it just turned into Major League Eating, that's what they call it now, so it was unclear.
I see.
But, I mean, I'll trust their website, obviously.
Yeah, okay. So the governing body is different from the competition. Yeah, sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess.
Other sports are like that. Aren't some motorsports like that? I don't know, you did the...
Oh, with my extensive knowledge of motorsports?
Well, you did the discussion on motorsports last season, not me.
Which one?
In the Palindromes game?
Oh, the one about, like, the Grand Prix.
The Monaco Grand Prix and all that. Yeah, isn't, like, the governing body separate from the circuit or something in some way in some motorsports? I think so. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. Anyway, the Federation was founded in 1997 by George and Richard Shea. In order to compete in one of the IFOC competitions, one must be over the age of 18. Matches must also happen in a controlled environment under the supervision of a licensed EMT.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the top competitors in the league include, quote, Megatoad Matt Stoney of California, Sonia Thomas from Virginia. Notorious B.O.B., Bob, whose name is Bob Shout from Philadelphia.
Okay.
And of course, Joey Chestnut, who's from
Yeah.
California.
Yeah, he's far and away the most famous one.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So the mustard yellow belt is the championship belt of Major League Eating. I did not know there was a
I hate
championship
this.
belt. It's so silly. It's fun though. Takeru Kobayashi had it from 2001 to 2006, but then Joey Chestnut beat him in 2007 and held the title for 8 years until he was beaten by Matthew Stoney in 2015 at the July 4th hot dog eating contest. But Chestnut got it back just a year later in 2016 when he ate 70 hot dogs.
So the belt is won at the hot dog eating contest then, or is it like, can it be won and lost at any event?
It's sort of like a compilation of just like who's winning. I think it's like who's winning the most events, but it seems like it's generally decided at.
So that makes sense. So like is it sort of like a NASCAR kind of thing where like you accumulate points over the season and
I couldn't find such detailed information. Like even
Interesting.
on their website, like there weren't intense details. There was like a page on their website with like the current top 50 people in MLE, and then there was a page that was like Hall of Fame, and I clicked it and it was like, this page will be available soon, and I was like, okay.
So it is like a ranked thing. So
Yeah.
okay, that makes sense. So you win it at like the end of the season, presumably, at the hot dog eat. That makes sense. Okay.
So in 2018, Joey Chestnut won his 11th title by eating 74 hot dogs. That seems like roughly the number of hot dogs I've eaten in my life.
Surely not.
You don't think I've eaten 74 hot dogs in my life?
I think you've eaten more than that.
By how much, though? I'm just thinking, how many hot dogs do I really eat in 1 year?
I don't know.
4 or fewer.
Really? I guess.
You have the 4th of July.
Yeah.
And that's like it.
I
What
guess
else
so.
are you eating hot dogs?
I guess.
Gross. Anyway, this seems like a good point.
I ate hot dogs for dinner a lot in grad school because they were super cheap.
That's disgusting.
They were cheap and they were quick.
Okay, it wasn't disgusting that you ate a lot of hot dogs. It was that you made them in the toaster oven. I don't know why that grosses me out.
No, I didn't. I toasted the buns in the toaster
Oh,
oven.
you told me you were toasting the hot dogs.
No, what?
Oh, that's good.
No, I usually microwave the hot dogs, or I would do them in water.
That's still gross.
Whatever.
You have to put them in the oven.
What?
Get that nice, crispy outside.
Alright, we've completely gone off the rails here.
That's okay. Anyway, this seems like a good point to elaborate on the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. It has been held at Nathan's original location on Coney Island almost every year since 1972, usually on the 4th of July. Some people have actually claimed that it was first held in 1916 or 1917, but a Nathan's promoter named Morty Matz admitted that he created this legend as part of a publicity stunt. There was like some legend that like there were some new immigrants to New York that did it to prove who was the most patriotic or something.
What?
I don't know. This is his publicity stunt.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So IFOCE has sanctioned the contest since 1997, and only MLE competitors can compete. This particular contest usually only has 20 contestants by special invitation from the MLE. So it's usually like the top people, and then they decide who else.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
The competitors stand behind a long table with hot dogs and buns and drinks. They can drink anything, but they usually stick to water.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, there's obviously a strategy to this.
Yeah.
They are also allowed to use condiments, but they usually don't.
Let's slow you down.
Yeah, but like, doesn't it seem monotonous? Maybe that would like kind of change it up and keep you going.
You're not doing it for the flavor.
No, I know.
And isn't it time?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Yeah.
So
like, it's not just like who can eat the most hot dogs in one sitting.
No, it's so the winner is the contestant who can eat and keep down the most hot dogs in 10 minutes.
Ugh,
so he ate 74 hot dogs in 10 minutes.
That is so freaking disgusting.
I know, it's really gross.
Ugh.
Each contestant has their own scorekeeper who flips a number board to keep track of each hot dog consumed. There are yellow penalty cards issued for, quote, messy eating, and red penalty cards issued for, quote, reversal of fortune, which leads to disqualification. If you're wondering, the other term for reversal of fortune is regurgitation. So, yeah.
That's an excellent euphemism
when I read that,
for throwing up 74 hot dogs.
When I read that, I was like, what does that mean? So then I searched it, and it sent me to a Wikipedia page titled Regurgitation that was about, like, animals.
Ugh.
And I was just like, ew.
That's so gross.
I just am embarrassed. I couldn't think of what reversal of fortune could possibly mean.
In the context of wolfing down dozens of
I
hot
get
dogs.
it now.
That is so fucking gross.
Yeah, it's really gross. So anyway, if there is a tie, there is a 5 hot dog eat-off to see who can eat them the quickest. And if there is another tie, they do a sudden death eat-off of 1 hot dog.
Okay.
I doubt that happens very often. There are also men's and women's contests. The current men's champion, like I said, is Joey Chestnut, and the current women's champion is Mickey Sudo.
Okay.
IFOCE produces competitive eating TV shows. In 2002, they produced a 2-hour eating event on Fox called Glutton Bowl.
I hate that.
I know, it's gross. In 2006, they produced 3 hours on ESPN to show the Nathan's Famous Hot Dog Eating Contest, the Johnsonville Foods Bratwurst Contest, and the Crystal Hamburger Contest. They now have a contract with ESPN to broadcast the Nathan's Famous Hot Dog Eating Contest through 2024. I've watched
Ridiculous.
it. So this is really funny. There was actually a video game for the Wii released in 2008 called Major League Eating the Game. Yes.
What?
And so you would use Wii remote gestures to unleash special moves on your opponents, whatever that means.
Oh my god.
And the players go through increasingly hard rounds where they eat 12 types of food. Not surprisingly, the game did not get great reviews. It sounds really stupid.
Shocking.
I was reading some of the reviews. Oh my god. Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
Okay.
Okay. Ready?
Yep.
What is this question for, right?
Yep.
Sounds and screams.
Okay.
In an episode of what sitcom that premiered in 2000, does the protagonist have a sandwich named after him at his local deli, but then doesn't like the taste of it and so tries to get Ted Danson to trade sandwiches with him?
What?
You heard me.
Alright, what year?
2000.
Ted Danson. Oh. You said Ted Danson for a reason. You said it's the actor, not the character, so it must be Curb Your
Enthusiasm. I did not say that.
It must be Curb Your Enthusiasm.
I did not say that.
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yes, it's Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Okay.
Great episode.
I don't think I've seen that one.
I've seen all of them.
I know.
Yeah.
But the fact that you said Ted Danson and not like a character played by Ted Danson tipped me off that he
I couldn't say that.
Right, well, I mean, I guess you could have technically, but it wouldn't have been very fair.
Yeah, a character played by Ted Danson, who's also
named Ted Danson and shares much of his history with the actual actor Ted Danson. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Curb Your Enthusiasm premiered on HBO on October 15th, 2000. In the show, Larry David plays a fictionalized version of himself. For those of you who don't know, Larry David was the co-creator of Seinfeld with Jerry Seinfeld.
Yep.
So Larry was born to a Jewish family in Brooklyn, New York in 1947. He went to Sheepshead Bay High School and then University of Maryland, where he got his bachelor's degree in history, which I did not know.
That's cool.
Yeah. After college, he moved to Manhattan, where he was a stand-up comedian and also worked as a store clerk, limo driver, and historian. So,
okay.
I think at that point he probably realized he wanted to be a comedian, but had to do other things.
Yeah.
Or he wanted to be a historian and stand-up comedy was just putting him through. No.
I mean, you can imagine that the stand-up might have just been a side gig at first.
It could have, yeah.
I don't know.
So at that time, he lived across the hall from a man named Kenny Kramer, who became the inspiration for the character Kramer in Seinfeld.
That's incredible.
Yep. Larry then became a writer for the show Fridays from 1980 to 1982, and then for Saturday Night Live from 1984 to 1985.
Did he work on Saturday Night Live? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Not for very long.
Interesting.
He had some, issues with them.
Really?
I was reading about it. I can't remember the exact details, but, I don't know if they fired him or what happened, but he, used it as a story in Curb.
That's great.
Yeah. So, anyway. In 1989, he and Jerry Seinfeld created a pilot for NBC called The Seinfeld Chronicles, which then became Seinfeld. I did not know that it used to be called The Seinfeld Chronicles.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a great title.
Yeah, it is. But Seinfeld is...
pithier.
Yeah, I guess that's the word.
Okay.
Larry was the main inspiration for George Costanza in the show.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yep. And Larry David only had a few uncredited appearances on the show, like Frank Costanza's cape-wearing lawyer and the voice of George Steinbrenner.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I don't remember that cape-wearing lawyer.
I don't remember that. I do remember that he played the voice of Steinbrenner, though. That's great.
Yeah. And Larry got 18 Emmy nominations and 2 wins for Seinfeld, one for Best Writer and one for Best Show.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you know a bit about the real Larry David, back to Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Okay.
Larry said that the inspiration for the name of the show comes from the fact that many people have a false enthusiasm, which he thinks is to imply that, quote, they are better than you.
What?
He's crazy. He also used it to try and lower expectations of viewers after the success of Seinfeld.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's
like
really good.
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
So clearly he's a very optimistic guy.
Yeah, okay.
In the show, he uses his real name, and like in real life, he is well known for co-creating Seinfeld.
Right.
In the show, he lives in LA with his wife Cheryl, who is played by Cheryl Hines. She is not his real wife in real life, just saying.
Okay.
His best friend / manager, Jeff Green, is played by Jeff Garlin. And there are also a lot of guest stars on the show, mainly actors playing themselves, like Richard Lewis, Wanda Sykes, and Ted Danson, who I mentioned in the question.
Playing like heavily fictionalized versions of themselves, though, right?
Oh, yeah. Like, clearly we know Ted Danson is a much nicer person in real life than he is in that show.
Okay.
I fully believe that.
Okay.
Anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah. So for most of the series, Larry is semi-retired, but he does pursue a few projects. In season 2, he tries to create a pilot for Jason Alexander and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, but it doesn't work out. In season 4, he is cast in Mel Brooks' The Producers on Broadway. And in season 7, he writes a Seinfeld reunion show. So I know that, like, the Seinfeld cast was like, oh, we'll never do a reunion, but they'll only do a reunion within another show.
That's pretty funny, yeah.
Yeah. Most episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm are just about Larry's daily life and interactions with people, which usually don't go so well for him.
Right.
Someone ends up hating him by the end of pretty much every episode, but most of the time they forget about it pretty quickly. Yeah. Season 8 of the show premiered in 2011, and then in 2016 it was announced that the show would be returning for a 9th season.
Nice.
When Larry announced his return, he said, quote, in the immortal words of Julius Caesar, I left, I did nothing, I returned.
Okay.
I like him. He's crazy. So the series has received a total of 43 Primetime Emmy nominations and 2 wins for Outstanding Directing for Robert B. Wide and Outstanding Single Camera Picture Editing. The show won the Golden Globe for Best Comedy Series in 2003.
Cool.
Yep. That's it.
Okay.
Okay. Question 5. Science.
Okay.
As a sandwich lover, I hate it when my bread gets moldy and I can't make a sandwich for lunch. This happens a lot lately. This is the price you have to pay for getting good bread. Anyway, what is the more common, colorful name for Rhizopus stolonifer, the mold most commonly found on bread?
I don't know. White fuzz?
Hot fuzz.
White fuzz.
No.
I don't know.
It's black bread mold.
Okay. Never heard of that.
Yeah, I figured.
Alright.
So, not to be confused with black mold that is found in homes with poor indoor air quality, aka stachybotrys. Black bread mold is mainly found in food. So there are 2 different things.
Okay.
2 different species of fungus.
Uh-huh.
In addition to bread, it can also be a parasite of plants and cause fruits and vegetables to rot. It is basically that bluish-green fuzzy stuff that grows on the surface of bread.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Eventually, the bluish-green patches form black centers, which is why they call it black bread mold.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it shouldn't be eaten since it can cause a severe allergic reaction in certain people. But for most people, it isn't dangerous. It can cause nausea, indigestion, and vomiting, however.
Okay.
But, like, it's not really dangerous.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't eat it.
It's reassuring, though, that, like, you can just tear it off the bread and use that piece, and if you get a little bit, you're going to probably be just fine.
That's
you don't
true.
actually have to ditch the entire loaf. There's just one little moldy bit on it. Because there's just no time to go get bread, so.
No.
Yeah.
So
we have podcasts to record.
Yeah. No time. So, Rhizopus stolonifer was discovered by German scientist Christian Gottfried Ehrenberg in 1818. It is mainly found in tropical regions of the world and grows very quickly, and it can exist in soil or in air. So, we're going to talk about some fungus things now.
Okay.
So,
sounds fun, Gus.
It's not fun, and don't call me Gus. No, it's fun. It's fine. It's very sciencey. I feel like it's very informative.
Okay.
So, Rhizopus stolonifer is a saprotroph, which means that it digests decayed organic matter. Saprotrophic nutrition is also known as lysotrophic nutrition and can be done by saprotrophs and heterotrophs. It is chemoheterotrophic. Sorry, these are a lot of vocab words. It is chemoheterotrophic, which means that it can't fix carbon to form its own organic compounds. Most animals and fungi are chemoheterotrophs. So, like, autotrophs are the opposite, like plants that can make organic substances from carbon dioxide.
I see.
So
okay.
we are heterotrophs.
Right, okay.
Saprotrophic nutrition is also a form of extracellular digestion, meaning that the organism can secrete its own enzymes out of its cells and onto its food.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Part of the reason it is called stolonifera is that it spreads by stolons. Stolons, aka runners, aka hyphae, are stems that grow horizontally at the surface of soil or right below the ground. This is in contrast to rhizomes, which are more root-like and grow at the root surface or in other orientations underground.
Okay.
So most fungi have this, I would say.
Okay.
That's kind of how they grow in the soil.
They grow out instead of down?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
And they're these runners, hyphae.
Mm-hmm.
The fungi genus Rhizopus is comprised of saprophytic fungi on plants and specialized parasites on animals. They can cause human zygomycosis and can be fatal. So that's like the human infection. Fungal infection.
Okay.
But I don't think you can get that from eating it.
Right.
These infections...
So how do you get it?
I don't know. It infects you. It gets inside you. I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry. I don't know.
Maybe it's like if you inhale
I
something?
think it's if you inhale it. There's also I'm trying to think of like the fungal infections I know. There's like one that's like from bird droppings. Like inhaling it or something.
Okay.
What was I going to say? Oh, the fungal infection zygomycosis can also be a complication of diabetic ketoacidosis. Rhizopus species reproduce by forming both asexual and sexual spores. Sporangiospores are the products of asexual reproduction and have a long stalk called a sporangiophore. Zygospores are the products of sexual reproduction and are made where two compatible mycelia fuse. I'm not sure what makes them compatible. Maybe they both like Game of Thrones. Who knows? I don't know.
That was a very good joke.
Thank you. I try. Throwback to my first Game of Thrones episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess you can remember it like zygote, like
right.
Like a human.
Right.
So that's like the sexual reproduction.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So when they germinate, zygospores make colonies that are genetically different from each parent. Another species called Rhizopus microsporus is used to make tempeh. How do you say this?
What?
Tempeh.
What is that?
It is fermented soybeans. It's food.
Okay.
Tempeh.
Never heard of this.
Yes, you have.
No, I haven't.
Oh, you're so anti-vegetarian. You don't even know what tempeh is.
I know what meat is.
Not helpful. It's like tofu, but not tofu.
Okay, so gross but not gross?
I don't know. I've never eaten it. Anyway.
No, good on you, vegetarians. Whatever.
Yeah. Don't hate. Don't be a hater. Rhizopus oryzae is used to make alcoholic beverages in parts of Asia and Africa. So, put in those Rhizopus to use.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know what drinks they're in. It's interesting though. The Rhizopus genus belongs to the fungi phylum Zygomycota. There are about 1,050 species in Zygomycota, which mostly live in soil or decaying plant and animal material. They are called Zygomycota because of the zygospores they produce, which I mentioned earlier.
Yep.
In Greek, zygos means joining, referring to the fusion of the two hyphae that produces these spores.
Okay, yeah.
I should have talked about the fun foods at the end.
Oh well.
It's okay. And the last question is everything else. A sandwich called koreich, consisting of flat bread with a bitter herb, is traditionally part of the meal on which Jewish holiday?
Passover?
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It is Passover.
That's what I thought. Okay.
You're worrying me for a second. How many answers have you gotten?
I got 3.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, so I'm up now 14 to 13.
I only have one more.
What?
We each have one more.
We each have one more game. Yeah.
Okay. So, Passover, or Pesach in Hebrew, is a major Jewish holiday that begins on the 15th of the month of Nisan in the Jewish calendar, which is usually in March or April, and lasts for 7 or 8 days depending on certain traditions. Like all Jewish holidays, it begins at sundown the night before, so sundown on the 14th of Nisan in this case. Nisan's my favorite Jewish month.
And your third favorite make of car?
Yeah. I don't know, I just think it's fun. So, the holiday of Passover is to commemorate Exodus, in which the Jews escaped slavery in Egypt. Anyway, here's a quick summary of the main details for anyone who didn't grow up Jewish or see the movie The Ten Commandments.
Right.
It's not as quick as I hoped it would be, but I feel like they're good, important facts to know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, this kind of stuff comes up a lot in trivia, so yeah.
Yeah, it does. So, anyway, there was this guy named Moses, if you didn't know.
Heard the name.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's pretty popular. So, when he was born, the Pharaoh commanded this is in Egypt. He commanded all male Hebrew children to be drowned in the Nile, but Moses' mother hid him in an ark on the riverbank. I assume it wasn't as big as Noah's Ark supposedly was. Most stories say it was a basket.
Right, a basket, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, he was discovered by the Pharaoh's daughter and was raised as an Egyptian. Moses was having a pretty normal Egyptian life, but one day he saw another Egyptian beating a Hebrew and he killed him. At this point, Moses fled to Midian, another country nearby, and married a woman named Zipporah. I didn't know that.
Me neither.
Good to know. Zipporah.
Zipporah.
It's a pretty popular Hebrew name.
Is it?
Yeah.
I've never heard anyone name that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've heard of people whose Hebrew names are that, but I'm sure in Israel people are named that.
Maybe.
So anyway, while Moses was there at Midian, God appeared to him as a burning bush and told him that he had to go back to Egypt to bring his people out of bondage to the promised land, which is called Canaan. Canaan is like where the Jews were from in the Bible.
It's interesting. Growing up in church, we always pronounced it Canaan when we were learning about the Old Testament.
Oh, but I'm pronouncing it in Hebrew.
Okay.
Canaan.
Interesting.
I mean, I think in English you would say Canaan sometimes.
Yeah.
We would say it, but I don't know. I think Canaan sounds better.
Okay.
I don't know. Anyway.
Settlers of Canaan.
Yeah, really. We'll invent that for like the Hebrew school kids. When Moses went back to Egypt, he asked the Pharaoh to free the Hebrews, but the Pharaoh refused. After that, God inflicted 10 plagues on Egypt. The plagues were turning the water into blood. The next one was frogs.
Yep.
Then lice. Then wild animals. Then diseased livestock. And then boils. And then hail and firestorms. And then locusts. And then darkness for 3 days. And then finally, the death of the firstborn sons of the Egyptians. Before this last plague, God told Moses to tell the Israelites to put a mark of lamb's blood above their doors so that their homes would be passed over and their firstborn sons would not be killed.
Right.
And this is where the name Passover comes from.
Right. Yeah.
After this last plague, the Pharaoh was obviously really scared. So he ordered the Israelites to leave and take whatever they wanted. And they left immediately just in case the Pharaoh changed his mind, which he did.
Yep.
Yeah. So he sent his army after them like pretty soon after they left. So Moses and the Israelites got stuck at the Red Sea, and this was when God parted the sea long enough just so they could pass through, but that the Egyptian army could not.
Yep.
So that's like also probably a good thing to know.
Yeah.
The parting of the sea.
Yep.
From there, Moses led the Israelites to Mount Sinai, where he was given the 10 Commandments from God written on stone tablets. And while he was up there, his people didn't know if he was coming back or not. I guess it was taking a while.
Right.
So they made a statue of a golden calf and they worshipped it, and that pissed off God and Moses a lot.
It just makes me want to watch History of the World Part 1 again.
Oh, I'll totally watch it.
It's such a good movie.
Yeah. Not the 10 Commandments.
No.
Isn't that movie like really long?
Yeah, it's like 3.5 hours of Charlton Heston Mosesing about.
I don't think I've ever seen the whole thing.
It's not that good. It's
I like
very
History of the
old.
World.
It's like the age really shows on that movie.
I'd rather watch Prince of Egypt. It's probably like an hour and a half.
Yeah, at least it's quick.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
Anyway, it pissed off God and Moses because, Judaism, you're not supposed to worship any idols.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they did. So.
Although in their defense, they hadn't gotten the 10 Commandments yet. So the second commandment says not to worship any idols, but they didn't have that rule yet.
But they should have known. They were supposed to just know. They should have known. Because Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, they all already happened, so they should have known. Anyway, when Moses came down and he saw all this, he broke the tablets because he was so upset, and then he had the people who were worshiping the golden calf killed. So, they should have known.
Yeah.
A couple more things happened in there, but basically they spent 40 years traveling through the desert, and then they went east around the Dead Sea. And that's sort of where they ended up.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like it's good to know that Moses' sister's name was Miriam and his brother's name was Aaron.
I knew Aaron. I didn't know Miriam.
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't Aaron, instigate the golden calf thing, but then he became the high priest or something?
Something like that. I didn't want to get into all these details,
yeah.
But something like that. Okay. Anyway, back to the holiday itself.
Yeah.
On the first 2 nights, there are seders in which you retell the story of Exodus using a special text called the Haggadah.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's just a bunch of rabbis telling you what they think is important and what they think is useful to know about Exodus. So, Wikipedia says that the Seder's only on the first night, but every Jew I know does 2 Seders, so I don't trust it. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know anyone. But
Take
anyway.
that, Wikipedia.
Yeah, I know more than you, Wikipedia. So, anyway. During the Seder, 4 cups of wine are drunk at different points, and there are 15 parts of the Seder, one of which is korech, which I mentioned in the question.
Mm-hmm.
Matzah is eaten to represent the unleavened bread that the Israelites ate while traveling in the desert for 40 years, and they obviously didn't have any yeast.
Mm-hmm.
So during Passover, Jews cannot eat any leavened bread, which is called chametz in Hebrew. I don't know why I'm not good at saying that word. I've said it a lot of times. I'm just not good at saying it.
I don't know.
A bad Jew. No, I'm not. Anyway. So it's called chametz in Hebrew, and you're supposed to remove it all from your home and clean your kitchen thoroughly, and also change all your dishes for the week.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want any trace of it.
Seems extreme.
It is.
Okay.
It's a lot, but that's the way.
Yeah.
And during the Seder, we also eat bitter herbs, which represent the bitterness of the slavery in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Another main part of the Seder is the 4 questions, which are read by the youngest child at the Seder and ask, why is this night different from all other nights? Good to know.
Mm-hmm.
And another fun part of the Seder is the afikomen, which is a piece of matzah that is hidden from the children, and whoever finds it gets a prize. I'm not sure about the religious purpose for this, but it definitely helps entertain the kids for a while.
That may well just be the purpose of
it. But it is an official part of the Seder.
Yeah.
It's in there. So, I know I always liked it as a kid.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of the main dishes eaten on Passover is called matzah brai, which is matzah softened in milk or water and fried with an egg and is served savory or sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I like it sweet.
Of course you do.
Yep. And there's also gefilte fish, which is commonly eaten, which are ground fish balls.
Ugh.
I'm not a fan. Not for me.
Yeah.
And we also eat haroset, which is a mixture of chopped apples, nuts, honey, and sometimes wine. That's my favorite.
Mm.
And I was told, I think, that it's supposed to represent, the mortar of the bricks that they were building.
Oh, interesting. What's the one when we visited your family with the horseradish? I like.
What do you mean? What's the one with the horseradish? The what with the horseradish?
It was Passover, part of the meal with the horseradish.
Oh, so
it was like
horseradish.
Eggs and horseradish.
So horseradish can be considered the bitter herb.
Ah, okay.
So it's called maror.
Uh-huh.
And some of these things are you can interpret it. So some people don't even eat anything bitter, really bitter, just a certain green, but
uh-huh.
So there's the Seder plate, right? Which isn't part of the Torah or anything, but people have it to represent, there's a lamb shank, which represents the lamb's blood that you put on the door. And then the egg is to represent fertility and the new life coming from out of this.
Okay.
Anyway, no, that was it.
All right.
There's also matzo ball soup, which I recommend everyone try.
Yeah, matzo ball soup is good.
Yeah, it's great. You can eat it any time of year.
Yeah. Someone who didn't grow up Jewish, I've had a few Passover Seders by now. So
yeah, because of me.
Yeah.
So you got 3?
Yes.
So now you're winning 14-13.
Yep. With 1 game each left to go.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So that's it for today.
Yep.
If you would like to contact us or follow us, we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all Quiz and Hers.
Yep.
And Gmail.
quizandhers@gmail.com.
We should be on every podcast platform. Let us know if we're not on your podcast platform.
Yep.
Let us know if you have any feedback. And actually, this week we will be guest starring on another podcast in which we do a report on something, and you can also learn a little bit. The podcast is called Dog Hair Presents. It's with our friend Rory M. Spence from Scotland, and this week he is releasing the episode where I did a report on gin. If you like to drink, if you like to learn, could be fun. And he will also be guesting on our podcast soon too.
Yep, he'll be doing a special guest episode with us during the off season, during our 3-week break after season 2. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep, so look out for that. Check it out.
All right.
All right, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
And, Justin didn't have his mic on.
How the hell did that happen?
Good job, Justin.
Alright, start over. Sorry.
I'm not starting over.
Yes.
Everything's fine.
Alright, fine.
What happened? We didn't get your breathing? What, do I really need to start over?